back at WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. I'm back on the homestead, back in the new studio, back from 90 degrees, where it is like 20 degrees here. And I get together with this guy each and every week. We appreciate all of our sponsors and our wise conversations, but it's folks like Leonard Raskin and Raskin Global that send us on the road to the Super Bowl. You know, Leonard, when I put these fancy sales packages together with you big shot business owners here, I couldn't even promise the Super Bowl. I had no idea whether we're going to go, whether it was going to be any good. Turns out it was okay. The game was better than the week, quite frankly, and the weather was better than all of that. An interesting end to the season, and we talk so much about Joe Burrow. We talk so much about our own franchise and Lamar, and lo and behold, the Rams sort of kind of bought a Super Bowl, right?
How does that roof work? That's what I want to know. Was it hot? Because they don't have any air conditioning in there, apparently.
I never got hot, but I didn't wear my sport coat. I mean, it was 90 degrees. It was hot out in the sun.
Yeah.
I'll say this. The story, it is interesting. Out of all of the things I experienced in 9 days, the first thing you bring up is probably my takeaway. My takeaway is the stadium's a wow. I mean, they spent a lot of money on it. It was meant to be a wow. It was meant to look like the Bellagio in Vegas with fountains and like it is all of that. But cool. It's the strangest thing in the world, Leonard. You get on a media shuttle. First off, it's over for the media and the NFL, right? Like half the media doesn't come anymore. The other half, they don't come to the game anymore. They don't have like police escorts for the media and do like a caravan. We just get dropped off like in Inglewood. I get dropped off on the corner, dudes rolling joints on the corner, weed everywhere. And then you like walk in and you're in Disney World. Like you walk in the gate, and it's just like a whole different thing where beers are $22 and the Black Crows are playing over there.
$15 water.
Leonard, I don't know what to say, but it was opulent. It was over the top. And I know I talked to guests about this all last week. We talk about strategy and life strategy and business strategy and saving money. They strategized this. I mean, they got sued for $900 million and lost, right? They clearly
was it Kroenke? Is it Kroenke, right? He doesn't care. He doesn't care. That's you and me dropping a buck on the street, walking away. But I'll tell you what, it was a heck of a game. Look, this playoff run was fantastic. There were great games every week, and this one didn't disappoint. It was boring. I thought it was kind of boring. The thing is, what was it? The first half, maybe three quarters, seemed kind of boring to me. The game was just kind of blah. It was okay.
I disagree. I just thought it was a good game. I thought it was a good game.
I thought it was a good game, but it just, let me say this. I don't know how to put it. Didn't feel Super Bowl-ish. It was just a game. Well, it was a good game.
It felt Super Bowl-ish when Snoop showed up and Eminem showed up in LA.
For me, the halftime was horrible for me. I'm not.
The stadium was on fire. It was electric.
Oh, I'll bet. The only thing I like less than rap is opera. So for me, that was just dreadful. I just, let's put it this way. I was cracking crabs during halftime. I didn't care.
Well, that's fair enough. I mean, there've been years where I didn't care. I didn't care about the weekend. You know what I mean?
Me neither. That was just the weirdest show I've ever seen. When the guys had jock straps on their face, that was just as weird as it came. That was the weekend show. I mean, at least this was a authentic show. It just wasn't my thing. But no, the game was good, and the outcome was incredible. And I took Bengals +4, so Rams won by 3. I don't know how Vegas knows these things, but they know these things. You'd almost think they know something.
Well, this is what I was going to say about like strategizing and orchestrating, right? Like all the behind the scenes of hiring Jeff Fisher to maneuver the move, to have Les Snead make the move, to get them to LA, to play in the Memorial Coliseum, to get this thing built, to have the thing built, to buy the quarterback, to rent the linebacker, to give away draft picks, to do all of this. Remember that old movie Heaven Can Wait? Remember that one? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Right, with the Rams uniform. Like this whole thing that happens plays out in LA, and I watched the whole thing, even the last 2 minutes of the game and the way they won the football game.
Yeah, well, how about against the Niners, right? Against the Niners, leading tackler for the LA Rams, Eric Weddle. And then the funniest thing, just watching it. The interview, the post-game interview was really funny. Did you catch his post-game?
With Weddle? No, I didn't see it.
So right after, I don't remember if it was ESPN or NFL Network or NBC, but one of the sideline gals grabbed Weddle and asked him how incredible this was. And he said it was just great, 5 weeks, great run, playing for the Rams, winning the Super Bowl. And she said, and what are you doing next? And he goes, I'm retiring. So she goes, we're breaking news right here. Eric Weddle is retiring from football. He goes, yeah, I'm going back home.
Remember how many times Sugar Ray Leonard and Ali retired back in the day? Remember that?
Yeah. Well, we talked about a couple weeks ago, my going to the Cap Center in the middle of the night to wait to get tickets for the Rolling Stones farewell tour in 1982. So they all retire, I guess, at some point. As a matter of fact, here's a good one for you. On that vein, I just saw in my Facebook feed, how you see things. It's very bizarre how things just show up there. The Who is on tour for 2022.
I saw that. You and I should get together and go do that, man.
Well,
here's front.
Here's how we should do this. Great arena to see The Who is my hunch. The Schottenstein Center on the campus of OSU. They're playing there on a Sunday, and Saturday is Ohio State destroying Rutgers in football.
2 games.
2 days. OSU, Rutgers, and The Who. What's not to love?
Is that in September?
That's October. In October. Could be a birthday weekend.
Man, I'm not even buying green bananas right now. And Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend are talking about rocking Columbus. Leonard Raskin is here from Raskin Global. He plots your future with you and helps you save your money, helps you learn about your money more than anything else. You can learn a whole lot more about what he's doing out of Raskin Global. Money. This is the time of the year, usually, when in the old days, when, I covered baseball and like that, I'd be flying down to Sarasota or Fort Lauderdale or Miami or wherever there's spring training. I'd be putting my feet up. I'd be thinking about sandals. I'd be thinking about a ball cap. I'd be thinking about spring training and the season and all that. So much of that has gone away from me since my 30s, and I'm now in my early 50s. But for people who still love baseball, and Leonard, I was in LA all last week, right? So I'm in Uber rides with different drivers, Giants hats, Anaheim Angels, Dodgers. Baseball's still a relevant thing in Southern California, very much so. So I heard a lot about the strike last week in California that I wouldn't hear it, like here. Nobody's talking about it here, but the money and the business of this and what they're doing. I know baseball was your first love like me. This is strange when the season ends and there's no baseball.
Yeah, it should be spring training should be happening, right? We should be here in the Grapefruit League cracking bats. We should be seeing Adley Rutschman. That's his name, right? Rutschman?
Correct. Yes.
Calling pitches behind the plate because he's going to be the starter. Who else do they have at catcher? They don't have a catcher. So he's the guy. We got some good minor league pitchers. I don't know the whole team, but I know we've got some good young talent. We were rated Major League Baseball or minor league baseball's number 1 or 2 farm system. It's time to see these kids actually play some ball. But what the heck? Baseball's so stupid. They keep shooting themselves in the foot over and over again. I mean, there's no reason. Is this a different type of
thing in your mind with stockholders and stuff like that, that when people invest in this type of stuff, that you can't have this sort of ish in your program? They run things differently as a monopoly and as an antitrust and busting up the minor leagues. And now they're looking to bust a union. I mean, and the union over the last 50 years, there was nothing. And then it was the strongest union. Some would call it a cartel. Some would say it's not really a union. But either way, most of our lifetime, the players have led this thing and won this thing. They're getting their ass kicked right now in the middle of all of this, but there's so much money to be divided here.
Well, the thing is, we're talking about multi-millionaires and billionaires fighting over pennies. There's no question that what are they, here's the thing. What are they fighting over? The owners want a designated hitter everywhere, right? As you said, they want to cut the knees out of the minor leagues for whatever reason. They don't want minor league baseball, which is very kind of weird. It's not a college to pro pipeline. Now, less minor leagues, I get it. You don't need a team in every county.
Minor leagues is a money loser. It's betting on the future, literally. Right.
But you've got to have your options. You've got to have that reserve on board. You just don't need as much of it. I'm with you. I don't think they need, like I said, how many teams do we have in Maryland now? What's there, 5?
Well, then you start taking baseball out of Frederick and out of Hagerstown and away from Salisbury and away from communities. And then kids pick up a lacrosse, or they pick up a soccer ball. They pick up a basketball.
Right. So then they're making a determination of how many they need and whether it's too many or not. But
Leonard, I get the vibe that there's a lot of guys involved in baseball that are really rich, and it doesn't matter, and their lives are going to be full and fulfilled no matter how awful baseball gets or how bad it gets. There feels to be no desperation here, but certainly no inspiration. And the part for me is, and I talked to Luke about this a lot, there really is no best interest of the game, right? It really is about how can we cash in the next 12 to 24 months as stockholders, stakeholders, they all overspent, right? Or how can we get out if you're John Angelos? But the notion that they're going to bust the union, they're probably not going to play baseball because the baseball players are not going to allow their union to be busted.
They're not going to roll. They're not going to roll. And look, there's lots of places where I don't think unions are a good thing. I think they have long since passed their prime in a lot of areas. Sports is not one of them. Sports is a place where the power dynamic is so intrusive. And again, like you said, it's a monopoly. Let's not kid ourselves. They have law that says so.
Well, look at the power play where the owner can say to the black coach, throw the game because we want to lose games because we need to get our own Joe Burrow. We need to lose more. I'll incent you to lose. Like,
yeah,
that's a whole different level of thinking you're going to get away with something inside of an industry that could not happen at Black & Decker or at Under Armour.
No, because you have
McCormick.
Name shareholders.
Companies,
you have shareholders, and no small or private business would structure it that way because losing doesn't get you better intentionally. Which is,
we all don't get the draft in April every year and
right.
Fix our wrongs.
And that's why, that's one of the reasons the NBA and the NHL have overcome that with the lottery. And that's a big thing. You don't end up last and pick first just because. You end up last and you get more balls in the ping pong popper, that when they pick who picks first, you've got a better chance, but you don't get first. And so the structure that says last will be first leads to that opportunity. Look, like anything else in the world, if you give people incentive, they will act accordingly. And so when we're first in the draft because we end up last in the league and we're close to last in the league, we have a choice. Do we go for the first pick or do we try to win another game or two for nothing?
Well, the Orioles have been trying to lose for 3 years so they can get better. You know what I mean?
Well,
we're going to serve bad coffee for 3 years so that we maybe one day can serve you good coffee.
Right.
It's that doesn't make sense to me because it doesn't make sense to me anywhere else in the world. And what they're selling me, quite frankly, is bullish. You know what I mean?
Because in every other place in the world doesn't work like that. It's the incentives that draw the result. Let's face it. What's the difference to the owner in baseball? And I am not on the salary cap and the profit, the P&L of a baseball team side. So this is completely out of ignorance. But as you said earlier, they make a boatload of money whether there's 3,000 people in the crowd or 30,000 people in the crowd.
Unlike hockey, right? Hockey's still a gate sport.
Yeah.
The NBA has long since jumped that ship, but the media side of the NFL rolling out of bed profitable every minute of every day, all the time, no matter what.
Baseball,
cost certainty is what you would call it, right?
Right. And baseball the same, right? So So do the Angelos boys care if there's 3,000 or 30,000 at Camden Yards, except the public perception of the team? I don't know that it makes a difference.
Well, back in the day, and listen, Leonard Raskin is here from Raskin Globe. We're talking money, talking finance, talking a little baseball here, off season on the back end of a Super Bowl where there is no baseball. Back in the day in '94 and Lords of the Realm, and I always tell people, go read Lords of the Realm if you want to understand the history of baseball. But that was about 8 to 10 to 12 owners that said, we can't afford a $60 million payroll because we're only bringing in $80 million in revenue, and we have all these other issues. Baseball has jumped that, right? So there's all this money. There's no more John Angelos doesn't want to play this year because he will lose money. John Angelos doesn't want to play this year because they'll make less money. And that's the issue that's probably eating at all of this, is that they have cost certainty, and they also have reward certainty, other than maybe during the strike or excuse me, during COVID, where they couldn't even get the games on the field and there were owners that said, we don't want to play. I found that to be a fascinating dynamic, but I'll say this, they have to play. I mean, at some point they need to play baseball, and they need to get people back to stadia, I should say. I don't think that they're thinking about that. I think this is a bunch of lawyers and a bunch of rich people just thinking I'm eating filet mignon tonight no matter what, and it doesn't matter. And if the thing gets wrecked and burned down, I'm 58 years old and I've got 30 million in the bank, I'm good. Because those are the people making the decisions right now. This isn't about fans. It's not about municipalities.
Never about fans.
Nothing
Never about fans. That's an illusion. It's always about the business. But the thing that you said is they have income certainty as long as there's a product on the field. It doesn't have to be good. So you don't have to strive to be great, except that your players want that. But if your players are mediocre and getting a paycheck that they would otherwise never collect, they're not unhappy either.
Well, remember the LA Clippers operated that way for a long time with Donald Sterling, right? Just
forever.
And the Cincinnati Bengals, quite frankly, have operated, under that. We're in the NFL, we're making money, we'll do our best, but if we only win 6 games, how much did we make? And
what's the difference between winning 6 or 10? It didn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're fine. The team's fine. The players are fine. And goodness knows, every year in most places, the town's going to support them relatively the same. So whether we're a 6-win or a 10-win, the Cincinnati Stadium, I don't know what that's called.
Paul Brown Stadium.
Paul Brown Stadium.
Did they name it First Energy or something? I think
something like that.
I don't know. I mean,
but it's a beautiful place right on the water, right there at Cincinnati, Kentucky Bridge. It's a beautiful facility. It's a great location. And
I thought it was the best of all the new stadia, and people can argue. I've been in them
very
all.
Very nice.
So
it's a great place. But
I have a wide view on this because I've been to every NFL stadium. Unlike
they're going to put
most people, haven't been to every
thousands.
Cincinnati's stadium, they overspent on that stadium, Hamilton County, because it was nice. They did a nice job.
30, 40, 50,000, whatever capacity is. They're selling out every game.
Nice like that thing I saw out in LA, Leonard. That was a whole different level of spending.
That thing is that thing's like a rocket, like a spaceship on the ground, something wild. Between that and the Darth Vader arena in Vegas there. Or some people call it, what's the thing that vacuums the floor? That's the robot vacuum thing.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Do
people call it that? It looks a little bit like that.
It looks just like that. It looks like it could
that little eggshell you sit on the ground that vacuums stuff.
It looks like it could leave and clean up the strip.
Hey, the LA thing and the way they sold it. And again, I didn't see the TV broadcast. You're watching it in HD and eating crabs and avoiding the halftime show. Is it like you got to go? I mean, if we played the Rams next year out there, we played the Chargers out there, is it something where you're like, dang, I got to go see that stadium?
Imagine.
You should. I'm just saying.
No, there's no doubt. I would imagine they did some expo in the pregame or something, but I didn't watch any of that. I mean, that started at noon. From noon to 6, guys just yammering about nothing. How many times can you look at Cooper Kupp run a route? But no, I mean, I just think it's an amazing building. It's an amazing structure, and it's probably worth the see. But they didn't show it in a way that made it worth seeing, that I could tell from the game. They always show that ring that TV ring or whatever it is with the screens all the way around. So they kind of show that, and they show the roof, and they show the outside from the, what is it? It used to be the blimp. You used to see things from the blimp. Now you see things from a drone. They send a drone out there, and instead of having the whole darn, I don't even know if the blimp's going to be a thing. Let's face it, the blimp could just disappear.
I rode the blimp 2 years ago. I did it. It crossed it off my bucket list. I rode it over.
That's awesome. Was it cool?
You know what the weirdest part about it is? It has an engine, right? So when you're in it, it wonkavates. You go up. So it's a really weird sensation, almost like an elevator lifting. Like if you've been in a helicopter,
Yeah.
Helicopters go sort of straight up, and they're different than like an airplane where you sort of, if you're used to flying, and I've flown all over the world, you're used to this up thing, but you hear the engine of it, and you feel the toggle of it. So it is
it kind of like a wave?
Yeah, it has a little bump to it, like a little. It's a different sensation. It didn't get me queasy or anything weird.
Okay.
I'm a little height centric for having lived on the 23rd floor as long as I did, where like I don't like the edges so much. I don't go to the edges on tall buildings. So it took me a little while to get acclimated, but it was beautiful.
But are they even going to have the blimp anymore? Because now, like I said, we send up a drone, we take the pictures, it hovers, it comes down, we got the pictures. We don't need the people in the blimp to show us the building, and the drone's got all the camera angles and it can go from there to the field in like seconds.
So while you're planning your
double
date for the Who and Ohio State and like all that, you need to plan a date for LA. You need to go out and see the stadium. That's my parting shot to you. And
is it only football? It's only football, right? It's the Rams. Well, besides concerts,
it's huge. I mean, I don't know what else you put in there.
No, but my point is, there's no baseball being played there. It's no basketball. It's just football until they do the Final Four. You can't see from wherever.
See, I know you don't like soccer at all, but a soccer game and a serious match in there, going and seeing Brazil or Argentina or something, that'd be badass.
Some World Cup in there.
Yeah, that would make me want to go back. But
some Olympic Raskin
is here. He's Raskin Global. What's that?
Olympic opening ceremonies or something.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Did they get an Olympics, LA? Didn't they back out? Because of the corruption or something?
Oh God, corruption! Are you kidding? Have you watched any of this?
Have you watched
the Russian skater?
Have you watched? I haven't. Like the
my
Olympics
wife's
are like not a thing for me anymore.
My wife's all in. I really think the snowboarding, the half pipe stuff, that is just so wild. Those guys, man, they're daredevils. They're incredible. When you're flying 40 feet in the air, flipping around and defying gravity, it's bizarre.
My wife was watching the moguls and like talking about her knees and being like, oh my God, I don't know how their knees don't buckle under these things, right?
Yeah. But I like that the Russian skater, I think that starts tonight, the women's figure skating, the Russian skater is doping, and they're letting her skate.
It was her grandfather's cough syrup, wasn't it?
Right.
I think that's what she said. It was her grandfather's cough syrup.
She took something to make her better, and they don't care.
Yeah,
they just made the statement that doping is irrelevant in the Olympics.
I'm starting to really struggle with where the ethics and just all of this is. I don't know. Leonard, tell everybody where you are, because like in your industry, other than Bernie Madoff, y'all have to have some ethics and have to have some.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, a little bit. It's a little different in your industry than take this, do that, and we'll just get away with it, look the other way and cough, right?
Yeah, no, not going to happen. So we are Raskin Global. We are everything money, from budgeting to tax to estate planning, cradle to grave, what you do with your money, making sure that your lifestyle is met, that what you want to have, you can have, that you can live the way you want to live from the time you start earning money to the time you no longer breathe breath, and everything in between. We look at saving it, we look at growing it, we look at protecting it, we look at spending and enjoying it. That's our favorite part. But we make sure all the other things are happening so that you can do that and take that trip to LA and watch the game and not have to worry that you spend too much money on a ticket that was average $7,000 to get in. So
Leonard, I spent all that time in LA and it was like the game wasn't even happening. I went to a couple parties. I went to a Super Bowl party sponsored by a tequila company, delicious tequila, by the way, great party. 300 people. Friday night before the game. It was Friday night. So it was Friday midnight. in West Hollywood. I went in, not one Rams hat, not one Bengals hat, literally not even like a pretty girl in the corner with a Super Bowl shirt on. Not, you would have never
Not
known
a
the game was
mask
going
in
on.
the house.
And it was a Super Bowl party. You
And
know what I
not a
mean? It was
mask
like
in the
not
house.
just.
Did you see the mayor? He was holding his breath again the entire game. Did you hear that nonsense?
I did hear that. By the way, the mask thing in LA, everybody was wearing masks, and people were pretty cool about it, and
Not at the Super Bowl.
and appropriate. I mean, even on Radio Row, I wore my mask most of the week when
Yeah,
there
I
were
saw
people
most people
spatially
didn't.
around or not around.
You were good. Most people were not good.
I'm
Hey,
hoping
to
that
each his own. To each his own. That's called freedom, my friend.
Here's where the freedom sets in, and here's where I'll get on your side of the aisle here for a minute. I'm walking out of the game, and they were offering. No, I wasn't walking out of the game. It was Saturday. I was at an event. It was at a Hotsy Totsy event. Now, so I'm wrong. I did so many things. I was all over, but
Yeah.
I'm at a Hotsy Totsy event. A guy comes up. He's like, this machine here, if you sit here, it'll have a scan and put a red dot on your head, and within 30 seconds, we'll know whether you have COVID or not.
Wow.
And I'm like, you know what I said?
No thanks.
I don't want to know.
Right. No thanks. No thanks. I got things to do.
I just said it's day before the Super Bowl, man.
No thanks.
I'm wearing a mask. I'm elbowing. I haven't touched anybody. I haven't kissed anybody. I haven't hugged anybody. I don't shake hands with people. I shook hands with Warren Moon. Like, he was sitting here and he's Warren Moon, and he went in, and I shook his hand. I'm like, I haven't shaken anybody's hand in 2 years, but I shook Warren Moon's hand, and I found some sanitizer and whatnot. So, it was a great week. I appreciate you and all of our sponsors and coming through, and hopefully you were somewhat entertained by all of it.
Absolutely. It's good stuff, and a good game, and Bengals +4. And to all my Cincinnati friends, I'm sorry for your loss, but Vegas knows more than you. And they didn't pick you. They didn't pick you to win. They picked you to lose by 4. You lost by 3. And the Rams, how about Cooper Kupp? Just a final thought. The only other receiver to do what that man did in a career is Jerry Rice. Win the Triple Crown, right? And then most valuable offensive player, and then MVP in a winning Super Bowl. The only other receiver, Jerry Rice, in a career. This dude did it in 1 year. I got to say, personally, I did not think Matthew Stafford had it in him, but he proved wrong, and he proved to be amazing, and had what a game, and what a Super Bowl week, what a playoff run. Good for him. Got out of Detroit, got himself a Super Bowl.
Next week, we'll talk about Sashi Brown and running the Ravens and Eric DeCosta in the draft and all that stuff as we get closer to free agents. Leonard Raskin is here, Raskin Global. I'm wearing the shirt. You can find them at raskinglobal.com. All things money and helping you out, managing and sorting things out and giving you some solid advice. We'll hear from Leonard next week as well. I am Nestor. We are WNST. AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, drinking that mocha coffee all month long at Rofo. Now that I'm back in the cockpit trying to warm up around here, we are BaltimorePositive.com.